Today is mobility, flow, and balance. Until this sun gets kind of it's for those of you who weren't in class yesterday, there is a window through my arch over there, and that reflection is coming off the sun from that angle. So I have my chair, my ball. I forgot to get my stick, but I'm coming to the broom closet to get my stick. So if you have access to your stick, why don't we start with stick training? Ta-da! Miraculous, we got a stick. Okay, and by the way, since I didn't get to, I forgot to ask you all yesterday, there. You're just gonna be palms down, wider than hip width. I want you into frontal raise, right? And this seems really way too easy, right? It is to start. So there was something that we did yesterday that was just on the tip of my thought process that I wanted to find out how you guys did, and it will have to come back into my thoughts because it escaped me. So the arms are coming up. I want you to stop because now you should feel whether or not your shoulders can actually just even do this. See, I'm a little bit wider than shoulder width, and now we're going to change the position so that you go into thumb up. Good. Can we do shoulder protraction and retraction? It is it's an interesting thing when I catch a glimpse of myself, right? Especially in this profile, because you see how much of an indentation I've got going on there, right? And so I suspect that if I've got that going on there, that it might even look a little bit more pronounced in the video than it actually is, but part of that is just fabric and all of that. But I want you to feel like you're doing a little bit of a pelvic tilt. So right out of the get-go, we can't just hold the stick and move our arms and not pay any mind to what the rest of our body is doing. Protraction, retraction, protraction, retraction. There we go. 5 more. 5. We are going to do this from this angle. We're going to do this from overhead extension angle, right? So now as we go overhead, let your fingers separate a little bit wider. You may not get to your overhead range, but hopefully your hips don't push forward. And the real thing that we're trying to avoid is this soft elbow. So you activate your tricep to get your fullest extension, even if you're not completely vertical, although vertical would be your ideal, right? And I want you to take your fingertips, drive them up, and you feel kind of like your neck gets swallowed up, and then squeeze your buns, pull them down. And as you pull your shoulder blades down, tighten your derriere more. Drive it, pull it. You're only going to do 5 of these. Inhale up, gliding down. Inhale up, gliding down, squeezing the buns, reach, pull, and level the arms back out. Whew. Now, release the stick. So we will incorporate the stick again, but for right now, set it down. I want you to think about a clock, right, on the wall, except we've got 2 clocks, right? So often we are trying to like get this opened up, pulled back position, but for right now, right, you're going to reach them forward, right? And like really reach. And I'm going to turn around just to give you the little show of the back side here. Okay. So the most important thing is for you to feel like you're really expanding. Your arms are going to stay straight. So you're expanding and then you're driving down. And it's all about your shoulder blades. Pull them back, lift them up, drive them forward, push them down, glide them back nice and tight. There is a part of this movement where it'll feel really easy. It's at the end range of you in full extension that you push down, and then this middle part is really easy. And then when they come back up, you're continuing to keep the pinch. Oof, arms are straight, which may be the hard part. Push them forward, get that expansion without letting the hips like collapse, right? Everything is tight. Glide the shoulder blades down. This is your last one. Slide it back, tight, 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 and release. Okay, so your stick is going to be on the floor. Whether it's your stick or your strap, if the stick seems a bit too precarious for you because you've got tile, you know, it rolls. I just want you to be mindful that it will move if you step on it. So square up to it. Nothing hard. This is not dissimilar to what we do when we work with our pillow. Okay. Step over, pull up, push back, load. You are trying to get enough clearance so that when leg number 2 pulls over, you're almost as far away from your stick as you can be, so that it's an effort to get back, and you feel your body have to thrust you back, and then you pick up the leg. Because a lot of people do this where they're kind of straddling the stick, and it doesn't matter which leg's lifting, the middle of their body is kind of straddling the stick. I want you beyond that. I want your whole body to travel forward, and then feel yourself have to generate enough force that's uncomfortable, right? Because we don't normally thrust ourselves backward, okay? Even if you're like a power walker and you're used to generating some really good force in forward motion to keep a tempo, switch legs. What's lost in that, and it's not a bad thing, is just if you never travel backwards and then have to create control from a reverse position, right? Your body is unfamiliar to it. Now, this little step over, right, can be so much more. And if you watch me wiggle, like sometimes I fall out of step. Sometimes I wiggle because I'm generating an extra intensity for my body. But if my wiggling throws you out of step, then take your eyes off the screen, focus on the floor so you're fixed focus. If you're really skilled and you're like, yeah, that's just too easy, then what I want you to do is put a little spring in your step, because just by you like pushing into spring mode, it'll change the whole dynamic, okay? Drive it, because you have to stop, push it, stop, drive it, do one more, push back, pause, now turn to the side. Seems simple enough, right? Again, your middle body, if all you're doing is picking up your leg like this and the stick is in the middle, then you're not getting enough transition so that both feet clear the stick. And the closer your foot stays to the ground, the less taxing it is. So you decide, are you going to just do this power? See what happened? I didn't do that intentionally. So Peggy, for pickleball, this is a fantastic drill done like this, right? Doesn't seem like it should be, but in pickleball or any court sport, right, we have these lateral positions that you kind of overextend yourself so often to get there. And so if you train yourself, right, then wait for it, right? You can do change of direction drill too. The thing is is if you find yourself like all squirrely and hopping around, then it's too much explosive work. Give me 5 more. And 4, 3, 2, release and relax. Pick up your stick. Our stick is going to go behind us, palms forward, comfortably wide hands. Okay. Most everybody likes this one. Nothing super aggressive about it, right? So you're going to roll your shoulders, push the stick down your bum so that your arms get nice and straight. Make sure your head is pulled back into that imaginary wall, and then just gently move the stick off your body. Bring it to the hip line, rolling. You roll to exaggerate the arm length to fire up that muscle right there, right? And then you take, and you don't just move the stick, you're trying to then, what are we doing? We are retracting the shoulder blades, okay? So everything releases into the roll, glide the stick down the leg, feel yourself squeeze the stick and make that back arm muscle tighten up. The head is pulled back, the abs are in. You can walk around your space, circle around with the shoulders, push the stick down the leg, suck your belly in while you're walking around, pull your wings back. Give me 2 more. Big circle, sliding stick, belly to spine, rolling the shoulder blades back while you move the stick off the body. 1 more. Shoulder circle, gliding, retracting, releasing, relax. Okay. Ooh, stick on the ground. Some of you who've worked with me, so for sure, Marlene, Chris, Amy, you all have gotten this at the Sheridan. I used to give you those little sticks, those little sticks that we used to roll ourselves with, and we would take the stick, swing the arm up, right? So this stick is just going to help you balance, okay? You have the opposite leg and the free arm. The opposite leg travels forward so that the free arm and the down leg can roll from the ball of the foot to the top of the toes, and then the arm bends, and then retract your step. Step forward, soften the knee, just go in slow motion. Feel the arm pull up, squeeze your bun on that trailing leg. The body just kind of bows, and that's where you need the stick, okay? So don't let me throw you off. Step and roll. Now, your step back, you're not going to feel like you have a really clean aspect to your step back. There's a spatial disorientation when you push the arm up and your gaze goes with it, and then the arm hinges. That's that point of being really precarious. So that's why we have the stick, right? If you want to make it harder, take your stick out of the equation, right? And see, wow, maybe when you take the stick out of the equation, you're not able to get your foot fully rolled. That's really important. Roll to the top of the toes. 2 more. Step and glide, push back. Step and glide, push back. Woof. Other side. Stick, move the stick to the other hand. Which arm? Opposite arm. The leg that's closest to the stick is the stepping leg. So what we're doing is we're stretching the tricep line into the lat connector all the way down into the hip flexor and all the way down to the top of the toes. Step back. If you keep your chin in neutral, you'll be like, I don't know what the big deal is. I'm perfectly controlled here. So if that's you, I want you to let your gaze track up. And you'll find that when your chin meets the high point and you get that foot in its full forward roll, that's when you're like, okay, Now I understand what this is all about. If you're unable to get your top of the foot to really commit to its job, then you have to keep slowing down to train it. And if the arm doesn't do well in overhead reach, then just let it go to whatever height it can and still put the hinge in it. Okay, we got 4 more. 4. Try it without the stick. You're not going to fall down. At least don't tell me if you did, right? 2, you can be as wobbly as you want, right? Give me 1 more for good measure. Push and pull and release. Whew. Back to your stick. I want you to think like IT band, a little bit IT band, a little bit SI joint. So just stand on 1 foot, push the hips over to that side. The stick just becomes kind of like your wall. Instead of using the chair today, for this, we're using the stick. Just that alone is pretty fantastic. And I shared something with you yesterday. The terminology, right, of so often, because there's multiple things that connect up in here, sometimes it's really hard to tell. Is it that you have a tight hip flexor? Is it your TFL? Is it the QL? Is it the piriformis? I mean, like, you know, and because we're not into diagnosing what's wrong, we just try to hit every little quadrant so that we're getting it all, not knowing what anybody's real issue might be. All right, so here we go. You're just bearing down into the stick. Let the hips go. Can you take the arm up? I'm going to give you the profile of this. Real common compensation here is that the upper body is slightly forward hinged. So with your stick, let your body get back into this nice full reaching line. Take the butt cheek on that stretching hip side. Do your pelvic tilt. Right? And as soon as you pelvic tilt, you might not be able to go as deep into your stretch, but it'll be the stretch that the body needs. And now bring the hips to neutral. Okay, move your stick. Don't switch your feet. Right? The front leg is, this is actually really important, and I should have addressed it sooner. If you pull your front leg back too far, it's a limiting factor. So, and not only that, you'll feel really uncomfortable. So let that front foot just be forward and across the midline. The knee is soft. And now with your stick, I want you to push the hips back. You can move your stick as far forward as you want to, and the stretch should have just come up into what's called your lateral hamstring, okay, and maybe even into the fanny. So you can keep moving your stick forward if that feels good to lower yourself into S-curve spine, or you can plant your stick and just walk your hands down the stick. Oh, wow. Say hello to your lumbar. Everything's getting a nice stretch. I want you to consider that even though you can walk your hands down your stick, all right, it might be that you should really be a little bit higher to get more stretch through the rump versus feeling the lumbar. Even though this should feel good to get that low back like in a nice stretch position, I want the primary position to be dominant in this rump here. Okay, so let that be your gauge. And with your feet in crisscross mode, you shouldn't feel super comfortable. Like you shouldn't feel like you're really stable. You should feel like your legs are kind of having to work just to hold you here. And ready, pull your belly in. Go ahead and round your spine. Take advantage of the stick, the rounded spine. Use your strong arms to work yourself up your stick. Now, switch legs. Okay, moving the stick to the other side. Drive the hip over. Remember, don't pull the front leg back too far. Just let it sit across the middle, slightly forward. The hips are going. You've got your wall behind you, so your wall is pressing the hips forward, and then you're able to pull your head back. If you want more, put the arm into it. I catch myself. I'm sorry. I may have mentioned this to you last week because I was going through the magazine rack at the grocery store, which I seldom do. I mean, I buy like, if I buy 3 magazines a year, that would probably be what I do. I don't generally go and stand in front of the magazine rack, but there was something that caught my eye last week, and so I got it, and I've been reading through this magazine, and it's actually a men's fitness magazine and release out of it. And I'm finding that the articles are just really up my alley and validating everything that we do. They had a I'm going to get you into your second phase, right? So I'm going to turn to the side. Okay. So you decide how close do you know, if you feel like you need more support as far as you don't want to, if your back is feeling something funky, then just like keep, I call it choked up. Okay. Keep yourself nice and tight into your stick. So the arms can be bent. You can really bear down into the stick and still feel the rump, but you can take it as far forward as you want and get a nice push of the arm so that we're getting some of this tabletop spine. Once you're in your forward hinge, whatever position you're going to go for, I want you to let the hips sweep to the side. So you're not trying to hold your legs centered. We're trying to slice the hips to the side to really get the rump action there. And then your arms just do whatever they can to help support you. So there was this expo in the magazine. They had connected with a guy who was doing, you know, flexibility, mobility, flow work in every single position that was being showcased is stuff that we're doing. So roll yourself up. So the interesting thing about what I find interesting is how, can we go into our little rotation while I talk? Don't you kind of feel like you have like a cane and like we should be like dancing with our little cane? That's what I feel like when I hold this stick. There's something about the stick that has a very different, brings me to a different playfulness than when I hold my PVC pipe. Okay. So you're just comfortably swinging, but part of what was in one of the articles was why the significance of why we move our body through lots of planes of motion with the intention of like stretching through lots of planes of motion. So I've just changed your movement. You were doing this, which was nice and easy. And now if you bring the arms up, and you pause and you drive the rear heel to the floor and you lean away from the rear heel, that gives you a different stretch line. Come up, the arms can sweep down, bring them up on the other end, swivel the hips, drive the rear heel to the floor, pull on that stick. So the word fascia comes to mind. The fascia, when we take our body, right, into these long planes of motion here, and then what's happening is when your heel hits the floor and your body pulls away from that heel, we are lengthening that stretch line. So muscle flexibility and joint mobility, right? That's what we're going for here. Do one more on each side. Swivel, 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 swivel. Push, The stick is allowing you to take those arms, working the shoulders, right? Bring it up. This is your last one. By you holding the stick, you're activating your triceps. Pull your belly in tight. Can you get your head to turn in the direction of your rear foot? Wow. And release. Move your stick. You're done with that. Can you grab your change? Are you like, oh man, she didn't tell me I needed change? Do you have time to go grab some change? You know how I love that. Okay, change on the floor. So we are going to do, hopefully, the little figure 4 squat with this, which is the stretching of the piriformis. And you might need your chair close by. I mean, I guess you could still use your stick. So I'll do it with the stick just to see. But if your chair is handy, okay, if you know that picking up the coin isn't the issue, but yet you really struggle with then trying to get into this figure 4, then put your chair close enough to you or just keep using the stick, right? And you're going to try to alternate. This is where the only thing is, if you're using the stick, do all one side for 5 and then move the stick to the other side and do the other, because you can't really alternate with the stick. But without the stick, oops, I almost cheated one leg. Here we go. Part of what we do that there are things that I come up with, right? It's a combining of practices, right? So with all of my years of having taken yoga and having done spin class where we get off the bikes and do this, right? And then knowing that strengthening the feet, right? The rehab portion of strengthening the feet comes from picking up the coin. These are just disciplines that I'm merging together. It's not like it's super special or crafty. It's just that I know that our bodies have so much potential. So that's why I'm opting to do multiple movements at one time and then try to give you the prop that you might need in order to train yourself how to do it too, because the word, here it comes again, neuroplasticity. It's really important that we continue to find ways to challenge our brain and neuromuscularly what our body's adaptation is. So if we adapt to one aspect of a move and now you've mastered it, what happens is your body has this great awareness. If you think it, your body already knows what it has to do in order for you to execute it. And that's why it's really important that things that we do are not the same all the time. Ready? Can you do it again? If if you are blowing through this really fast, slow down. The longer you spend in your balanced state, one leg, even if it's hard, you keep finding a way to put your prop into the equation. And now I'm going to do a quarter turn here so that you guys can see something. The thing about this figure 4 is, you see how I'm not rounding my back? It's not just about me getting the coin out of my toe. It's about me sliding down with this really clean position so that the stretch happens through the hips, okay? So if that's another way to clean up your form. If you were just bending over, picking up your coin, kind of keeping your fingers crossed in a way that, yay, I got my coin out of my toe, well, just know that you have a little bit of fine tuning to do. Okay. And the fine tuning is you sliding down into your squat. Why is that important? Because the leg that you're stretching is getting stretched. The leg that's supporting you is getting work. And this is how I continue to reinforce to you that even though we're like in a mobility and flexibility workout, we still are engaging and commanding our parts to be active. So whatever is not in stretch mode is in tension mode. Shoulder blades, abs, right? Nothing gets a free ride. Everything in all of our sessions, all of our muscles in every single session get a workout, right? They get worked and they get stretched. So I've got 2 more pieces of change here and then we're done with this. Squat, how deep can you go? Maybe you're like, oh, maybe you pull your foot up higher, right? What if I just like gave you that thought that, oh, it's a little too easy. Stay here a little bit longer. Go, oh, pull the foot up, reset the squared body line. Release and relax. Grab a little drink. I am headed to South Florida today to see my sister. Rich is going on a boys trip to the Keys for fishing, and he's going to drop me off in Boca. Grab your mat. What else? Oh, you're going to grab your mat, and I want you to put your chair on the end of your mat. I was tempted to use the ball for this, but it will almost be too much workload for the hamstrings, and I want you all to feel like you can get a nice high bridge with the assisting of the chair versus working your hamstrings aggressively. So before you come down, right, let's make sure that we have our stretch out strap. If you need a pillow for your head prop, that might be nice to have. You probably won't need a prop for the bridge aspect, but it might be good to have just to have it down there. Okay. Remember our little crisscrossed? How many of you have been practicing your crisscross legs, right? I'm getting there. I must say that getting down is it's not as challenging getting down as it is up. And part of that, it's really like the strength of the feet, right? The feet have to do, it's like this generated force of you're in leverage mode, and then the strong knee. And by design, I intentionally take it so slow, right? By design. That would be something, if you were going to practice, you would want a wall, a chair, a door frame, something that could help like guide you all the way down instead of being in limbo with no support. Because even not being able to get all the way down, right? Like I say, you don't want to end up in no man's land where you've gotten to that point of getting hung up where you're not all the way down, nor can you get yourself back up. And that's where you would need your wall or your chair or something. So pull yourself in, settle in nice and tight. Again, I'm pretty positive that for the bridge, no one needs a pillow under their head because our legs are up, and it's just going to put too much crimp in your neck in the wrong way. So You're fairly tight to your chair. The feet are resting. Pull the belly in. If you have your arches on your chair or your ledge, that is absolutely fine. If you prefer your heels, you decide. So you're just going to start with this little peeling of the hips from the floor. Up and down. What I love about the down is that you should feel that you can go really slow, like you have these little sensors all along and down the vertebrae, right? And you don't want to bypass any sensor. You want to connect, right? Really slow. So slow that when you get to the sensor that's in the lumbar, you should feel like your hips are still slightly hovering on the floor. And as long as you're there, then you are in hamstring activation. So it's when you let your butt, let's go ahead and do it. Let your butt rest. See, no tension, right? Now engage the middle body. So pull the abs in, squeeze the buns, start your lift off. The feet are pushing into your object. So immediately the hamstrings fire up. The beauty about having your feet elevated is that you can do your hips as high as your mind can conceive that they go. And now keep your abs pulled in. Your chin is comfortably drawn to your chest. The neck is nice and flat. Hopefully you can see your like hip area and your front thighs, and then feel the vertebrae come to the floor. Down, down, down. This time, don't put your butt down, just the lumbar. And you should just feel this gentle work in the back of your thighs. And now rest. Okay. So we're going to take this one notch further, and I'm going to show you how with the assisting of your arms, you can bolster yourself. Same setup, navel to spine, start peeling the hips off the floor. The hips just go up to whatever's comfortable. And here's where you kind of pull your elbows in towards your trunk, and it's with the intention of putting your hands under your body. But if your elbows are wide, it's not going to work. You're not going to be able to support yourself. So the higher you lift your hips, the more you'll be able to get those elbows kind of tucked under you. And then you might even be able to take your foot to flat foot on your chair. And now your hips are high and your hands just slide right back into kind of like the, not really the small of the back, but fingers are pointing towards your buns and the heels of the hands are propping you up under and around your SI joints. Now, you're just holding. If you haven't gotten to the point where your arms are propped up under you, because that's a no-go, then I want you to just keep doing your raising and lowering, just like we started with for a couple more repetitions. But if you have gotten yourself propped up, I want you to take one leg off the chair, and I want you to let that knee pull towards your body. And then take the leg and extend it. And you're going to stroke the leg up towards the ceiling, rebend the leg, set it on the chair. Pull the other leg, knee towards your face, push the leg up to the ceiling, foot to the chair. And now take your hands from your hips, lower yourself down. Very good. Let your feet go as wide as your chair is. Some of you might be on the sofa. Maybe it's your feet are on your ottoman, right? Your coffee table. Just let your feet go. For me, my chair is pretty good as far as seat width. And all I'm going to do is roll my hips from side to side. I'm going to put my feet actually kind of right on the front edge of my chair. Okay, so instead of having my heels touching the chair, it's my arches that are around the contouring the chair. And now I'm rolling. If you're pushing your object, say your feet are on your chair and you keep pushing your chair away from you, then maybe you need to take your hands and just kind of anchor your legs towards you a little bit so you don't have so much weight pushing into the chair. But this is a very sneaky way for me to give you internal and external hip rotation, right? And the intention is as you roll the hips to the side, you're going to try to take that, I call it the trailing leg and push it towards the foot, the other foot, right? And then bring the knee up. You've got the lead knee, you've got the trailing knee. Rolly, 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 roll the hips, roll the hips, roll the hips. Can you get the knee towards the arch of the other foot? Do one more each time. Here we go. Push it over. Oh. And now roll yourself right out of that. Do you need to get your chair out of your way? I'm going to suggest that you do. I don't know how far away you're going to push your chair, but I'm going to just move mine off of my mat. And now we're going to do the next internal and external hip rotation. And it's going to be done from a seated position. This might be where your towel or your some of you actually have the RX pad, right? I'm going to start off doing this facing you. It's not going to be pretty. I am going to bolster myself up. I'm going to do a couple of them on the RX pad, and then I'll shift to the towel just so that you can see you don't have to have the RX pad. But I want you to think about, you were just laying down on your chair with your feet up doing internal and external hip rotation, okay? So can you, if you're on a pillow, it's going to be naturally easier for you to start for your internal and external hip rotation, okay? But I want you to look at your legs, and I want you to take your trailing knee, pick it up. Your hands become this like guide, so they're going to be behind you. Keep your chest lifted, and you're going to push that knee, push it, push it, push it, push it, push it, push it. Start using the fingers to help walk you around. Push it, keep tension on it, and then bring the other leg around for the motion. And you're going to commit to the whole rotation here. I will tell you, being on a pillow is really the ticket. If you're not on a pillow, chances are your spine is very much in C curve. And that might be, it reverts to that, okay? But at some point, get ready. Take the trailing leg, lift the knee. That should be like, wow, that's really hard to get the leg up. As that knee is lifting up, use your strong arms, push your arms into the floor, get some integrity to your spine, keep pulling the knee open and back. And it's only when it can't go any further that you let leg number 2 help you transition. And then, because your hands are often going to be moving. Okay, so now I'll get off of this just to show you. Without it, it's a lot harder to keep the chest lifted. And you're just going to float in and out of this, okay? In your most ideal position is when both legs are up and pushing, the knees kind of are pushing away from each other. That's when you want your body in this great S curve. And then you swivel the leg. Now, when I trained at, you got about 2 or 3 more, okay? So there was a facility that had this column right in the middle of the room. And when I used to give this to clients, it wasn't at the Sheridan. So you guys that train with me at the Sheridan never got this one done in a really clean way. Our body was against, so the middle of our body was against this column. Imagine having this fixed thing behind you. And as the legs came through, like there was nowhere for you to float back to. And you talk about when you can put yourself in an environment and use objects to help support and assist what your body is supposed to be doing naturally. So think about that. Our body naturally is supposed to be in S and not make any deviation from S while we're swiveling our hips from side to side. And then if you think that, like, you plant that seed and you get that visual image of yourself, and then you take yourself through your next repetition here, trying to go, oh, wow, I'm so far off the mark from that. It explains why we have pain, right? That was joint mobility for your hips. Shake it out, a little shaky. So how about we do something that we all know and love, our little chest expansion. Take yourself down. Let the legs roll to one side. I've got my arms opened. If you want to pull your, so if your head doesn't rest comfortably neutral, right, then put your little pillow underneath. You've got your far arm, and the far arm, we're going to be closing the book and opening the book. And now, that's where the movement starts. And then when you get your arm into like this 3/4 open to full open line, if there's anything that doesn't feel right about it, then I want you to keep your hand on your shoulder and try to open your book by using your elbow instead of the fully extended arm. If you experimented with your hand to your shoulder, and as you started rotating, as you open yourself up, try to pull your shoulder blade down away from your ear and see if you can get the back of your elbow to touch the floor. Now, that for all of us should actually prove to be quite a challenge. So even though this is a modified lever, right, by us shortening our arm, that's considered we're modifying the lever. The stretch should just feel very different when you put the focus on rotating the trunk instead of opening up the arm. And on this next open position, we're going to get to whatever opened position feels good. I'm going to go ahead and fully extend my arm. And now I'm going to try to take the tension out of my neck and shoulders and just let gravity do its job here. If your head is cocked and you're looking back, okay, I need for you to take your hands, lift your head, tuck your chin, and bring the neck to the floor. And then reset your arms. We don't want to be crimped in the neck. Can you keep that far arm where it is and then take your top leg? Can you maybe look at your top leg? Okay. So we're looking at this leg, and the leg is just going to bend and extend. Now, you've got this free hand over here, and it's really close to your leg. Can you let the hand support just on the inside of that knee? So if all is going right, what will happen is this elbow will be your support, right? And then that takes all of the work out of the shoulder. If your elbow isn't on the floor, then there's no sense in using your hand. Put your elbow down, let the knee rest on and in that palm,
And here's the gliding and flossing of the nerve. You're going to be in toe stroke. Flex the foot, keep the leg bent as you pull it back. Point the toe, stroke into full extension, flex foot, bend the leg. Point the toe, stretch it, flex it, bend it. Point, stretch, flex, and release. Take your far arm, let it gently come to you, release out of it, push yourself up, get into that side sit for just a moment. Woo, holding here. You're just letting your body reestablish itself. Chances are your hips should actually feel a little bit opened, relieved, released, right? And now swivel the legs the other way. Knowing that we want to get into that chest position, do you need your head support, right? So that your neck isn't all kinked up. Once you start on your back, I love to start on the back, right? Getting on your back allows you to like just first center yourself and then get the shoulders out of the ears and then roll the legs to one side. And then maybe you just wedge that pillow up where it needs to be. Okay, here we go. Far arm, close the book, open. From top arm, right? So how does this? From one side, doing the repetitions and now going into side number 2, there's a little bit more instruction I can give. And I want to draw your attention to what this top knee might be doing, because it would be very common. When you move your arm, is the top knee sliding and then sliding back when you open the arm? Even if you've shortened your lever and your hand is on the shoulder, okay? Since you have this other hand that's free, can you grab at the top knee, trying to press your knees together so that when you rotate yourself opened, the hips actually don't rock back? And now, if you've taken that step to secure your legs into stacked position, you might then notice that, oh, I'm not going as deep into my rotation on this side. That might be what's happening. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. We're maintaining this stacked hip line, stacked knees. So though your elbow or arm might not be touching the floor, your stretch has a better integrity than it did on side number 1. So I don't have any problems with my shoulder. I'm going to go ahead and go to my fully extended arm. The stretch is just, I don't know, it's not intense for me, but it feels so good. And it actually feels like a better stretch in my hip line than it does in my chest line. So like, even though this is chest expansion, for me, it's definitely hip opener. Let's do one more, and we're going to hold the open position. I want you to just know that as you get into your open position, let's evaluate what our neck is doing, right? Do you need to make those little adjustments to get everything like really dialed in? If you let go of your leg, where do your hips go? Do they just pull back and slide back? Like, you can run your own experiment. Maybe now that we've done several, right, you can let go of your leg and your hips stay put. All right, so going into the next phase, if you're comfortable, if you're in fully extended arm over here, It doesn't need or have to touch the floor, right? If you're feeling stress, then put your hand on the shoulder and just let your elbow drive the stretch, because we're moving into the next phase, which is us looking at this top knee. We're going to take the leg. We're just going to start bending and extending the leg. You're going to position your bottom elbow for that control. Let the hand support right on the inside of the knee. And now there's a lot happening here, okay? So we're in pointed toes when the leg extends. You hold it for a moment and shift the ankle into flexed foot. Keep it flexed and pull the heel back. Point the toe, push. You can release your far arm and rest it across your body if there's just way too many things going that you don't want to control that shoulder, right? So you just keep supporting the leg. That shoulder that's holding and helping you hold that leg, that needs to be in a good spot where you don't feel strained there, right? So here we go. Flexing and bending, releasing the foot so that you're pointed and stroking, flex. My angle might be very different than your angle. I've got my legs pulled up nice and tight. I actually can slide my hand all the way to my calf and let that be the part of my leg that gets supported. If you're really flexible in your hamstrings, then maybe you holding your knee doesn't give you enough stretch. But if you slide your hand to your calf, ooh, there it is, right? All right, so pointing, do two more. Figure out where you want your hand. I've got, not only do I have my hand on my calf, I've got my shoulder opened and my entire shoulder blade resting on the floor with my arm fully extended. So you talk about a stretch line there, okay? That's why these are called nerve glides, right? We are nerve gliding, right? What nerve? The sciatic nerve. And release and relax. Close it. Push yourself up. Go nice and gentle. Easy does it. Oh, take a moment. We don't always have to be really comfortable in a sit position, but you just keep addressing the sit position, right? And sooner or later, it gets a little bit easier. Can we come to hands and knees? Maybe do our little, get out of this doing our downward dog. If you're in a rush, then work yourself up to downward dog and get on with your day. If from your knee position, you want to go to cat back into then your child's pose sit because you have a few extra seconds, then maximize those few seconds to give you your fully released position. And from here, I'm coming up and back into rounded spine, downward dog, heels push into the floor. Ah. Okay. As you walk your hands back, be prepared to move your feet further apart, right? If getting from downward dog back up to your full rise seems challenging, from a balance standpoint, it's just that you haven't taken your legs far enough apart to help you navigate your own space. Lift and breathe. Release and relax. Job well done. See you next time. I'm going to sign off and then come back to you.